Wang Ling was born with power that could rewrite time and space itself. From the moment he walked out of the womb on his own, he was already beyond gods. Yet despite having limitless strength, he wanted only one thing in life: a quiet day and a bowl of crispy ramen noodles. That illusion of peace ended the moment an S-rank frog calamity attacked the city and made him drop his meal. In that single moment of anger, Wang erased the monster with one casual move, then chose to hide his power forever and live as a normal student. Years later, on his first day of high school, two senior bullies immediately targeted him. They mocked his seemingly low spirit force value and demanded he hand over all his money. Before Wang could react, a streak of fire crashed down from the sky. Sun Rong, the academy's most popular student, descended with divine grace, sending the thugs fleeing in terror. She promised to protect Wang, unaware he needed no protection. Later, the principal gathered the student body for the Spirit Force entrance exam, declaring that only the strongest would enter the elite class. A student named Kuk Xuan stepped up first. Inside the testing chamber, he faced the target, a spirit incarnation of the giant frog king. Terrified by the beast's aura, he faltered. He threw a weak punch, but the impact only proved he was destined for absolute mediocrity. One by one, students failed miserably until Chen Ko stepped forward. He unleashed his dormant energy, striking the beast with enough force to score over 900, securing his elite spot despite being knocked back. Sun Rong followed, rushing the beast with incredible speed. She landed a devastating blow, repelling the monster and shattering records with a score exceeding 2,000 points. Wang Ling was the final candidate. He planned to suppress his output to appear average. However, as he stepped into the water, the frog spirit sensed a familiar, traumatic frequency. It remembered the original body's destruction, the day it tried to incinerate the mage leader, only to be annihilated by the wind pressure of Wang's kick for interrupting his lunch. The beast trembled, recalling the sheer terror of that moment. Paralyzed by the memory of that specific background music, the frog froze. Wang pretended to struggle, feigning a difficult battle. But as he closed the distance, the mere passive energy from his arm destroyed the testing equipment. The signal died. The smoke cleared to reveal the frog unconscious on the floor while the scoreboard glitched, unable to display a number high enough to quantify Wang's truly infinite power. The entire school watched in stunned silence as the system completely failed. However, he did not even physically touch the frog. And when the frog started disintegrating, Sun realized something was off, while Wang noticed it was playing dead to avoid feeling his pain. The examiner congratulated him on being admitted into the class of the elite. When the first class began, the teacher showed them the spirits that they would bring out from other dimensions using their force level. Chen decided to show off his powers. After everyone clowned on him, Sun summoned a stray dog but wondered just how much power she needed for an actual spirit beast. The teacher wondered why Wang's lonely self was just sulking in the corner, so he decided to also give it a try. But when he felt all the aliens surrounding him, a giant explosion went off and the frog from the exam wondered why he was seeing his ugly face once again. To save everyone, the teacher cast Sun's dog toward the frog, transforming him into a puppy. Sun then asked him if he liked peanut butter. However, Wang knew how this would end and tried sneaking out of class. After all, he had been alone his entire life because even when his father waited for him to be born, he saw the nurse leaving the exploded delivery room in tears. However, his son was not dead, and he saw Wang had walked out of his mother's womb like a titan. Every single day, he would sit and read the minds of his parents as they would constantly lie to each other and bothered him with all their arguments. To save their marriage, he used his infinite brain cells to think of all the billion outcomes in this world and decided to wed himself right in front of them. This was how his accident saved his parents' marriage. And as days passed, he was capable of manipulating gravity itself. But by the age of 6, he had already gained the ability to destroy calamity-rank monsters. So his father began experimenting on him until he developed a secret seal to hide Wang's limitless powers. But even then, it was not enough to prevent him from nearly breaking the bowl by just touching it. So his mother would constantly give him her golden orbs to suppress his spiritual powers. And even though his parents loved him, they wished to find a way to help him live an ordinary life. Because even for simple things like blowing out his candles, he burned down their entire home. And when he was 10, his friends nearly touching him knocked them all out cold. For the first time in 10 years, he realized that his parents had been actually struggling to give him a good life. So until they found a way to suppress his powers, he decided to avoid anything that would stir up his emotions, except for ramen noodles. At school, he saw that ramen was on sale today, and a man bought the entire store, saying that he would gladly give them all they wanted as long as they vote for Sun Rong as president. All of the guys were angry that she would stoop that low for votes, but Wang told her that he would give her 5 of his votes for the 5 crispy ramen noodle packs, and she wondered why his plain face was the only one helping her. After receiving the noodles, all the other guys realized that they could get free food by just voting for her. But Chen swore that he would beat her, seeing how everyone fell for her trap. She cast her art of seduction to control everyone's minds, but realized that Wang was missing from among them. The only thing left over was his golden pill, as he wanted to pay her back for the noodles she gave him. When class started, Sun noticed that Wang was still unaffected by her spell, but even after trying to overpower him, he wondered if she ever got the pill. As he signaled for her to give him the golden pill back, she thought he wanted her to eat the golden sphere. So she decided to eat it to increase her spiritual powers. At that moment, he realized she was doomed, and her body started feeling like it had fallen from the sky. The spell of seduction broke away from everyone, and the teacher called Sun to come up and demonstrate her art of seduction. But as she walked forward, she slipped on a can and nearly fell. But Wang had to show off that he was the protagonist of this anime. However, he was not interested and just dropped her body to the floor, breaking the seduction spell off everyone. Before the class was over, the teacher announced that Chen Kao was the president of their grade. And as Wang walked away, he knew that those gestures were definitely a secret technique of unleashing some overpowered abilities. Later that night, Sun wondered why Wang's plain face destroyed her spell after supporting her at the shop, but wished he would leave her mind already. The following morning, Chen had brought his giant cauldron for the pill refinery test and thought that Sun would definitely fall for his giant cauldron. However, his friend knew that he was definitely overcompensating for something. She arrived in her limo, somehow accompanied by an entire band serenading her entrance along with 30 bodyguards. With a single glance, Wang saw she had been seduced by him, so he used all of his gigachad energy to come and brush her face. But he broke all laws of physics and snapped the status effect out of reality. They wondered if this was the new red pill guru method he was practicing, and Sun collapsed after the Riz Lord destroyed her ability to stand. At class that day, the teacher speedran the way to create a golden pill. The entire class remained frozen, utterly clueless regarding how they would pass this impossible alchemy assignment. Chen began frantically shoveling dirt, metaphorically preparing a grave to bury Wang Ling, while Wang simply utilized a standard kitchen microwave to refine his raw ore. Hao questioned how he could ever hope to compete with such absurdity, yet he proudly displayed his own superior magical furnace. Sun Rong gazed at the high-tier device with envy, wishing she could possess something of that caliber one day. However, the moment she directed her attention toward another boy, Chen's jealousy spiked, causing his unstable cauldron to violently explode directly in his face. The humiliated simp fled the room in tears. With the disruption gone, the teacher announced a mandatory 7-hour wait for the ores to finish refining. The moment the instructor exited, Wang's spirit dog prepared to devour Hao's cauldron. Wang Ling managed to intervene just before absolute disaster struck. Suddenly, the frog leaped out the window, forcing Hao to chase it down, but this was merely a calculated ploy to lure the ugly boy away. When Hao turned back, he found Wang Ling standing directly behind him. Terrified by the stealthy approach, he begged for mercy. Meanwhile, Chen continued running, weeping not just over his romantic failure, but because he knew his father would execute him for destroying the sacred family treasure and failing to secure first place. Back at the scene, Wang Ling departed with the furnace, but Hao, confused why Wang was stealing it, aimed his paintball weapon at him. Wang calmly insisted he wanted no trouble. Hao demanded an explanation before he blasted Wang into an ice-sky world. Just then, Chen's mind fractured completely. He hallucinated Sun Rong running toward her new daddy. Inner demons erupted, branding him a pathetic loser as his crush walked away with Wang. Determined to eliminate the evil separating them, Chen charged back into the fray. Hao declared it was over for Wang's worthless face and fired his poison weapon. Wang dodged at the last microsecond, and Chen inadvertently swallowed every drop of Hao's sticky liquid. Hao screamed in sheer horror at the accidental intimacy. They dragged Chen's twitching body back into the classroom, wondering if he would survive ingesting that much lethal poison. Realizing they faced expulsion if he died, Hao begged Wang to create an antidote immediately. They scrambled to gather ingredients and fired up the cauldron, setting a 4-hour timer. Panic set in when they remembered the instructor would return in only 2 hours. To make matters worse, the frog returned, attempting to eat the cauldron again. Hao released a magic seal to cast the beast aside. However, when he checked the furnace, they realized the frog's mystical fire had miraculously accelerated the refining process, saving them all from certain failure. They decided to put Froggy down, forcing the spirit to release his energy. Wang questioned why the creature kept such power hidden. Froggy explained that his ability to manipulate timelines would inevitably destroy the entire world, but both of them knew they could use it to their advantage. Once the antidote was complete, they forced the poor dog to ingest the poison to test the pill on him. They watched the reaction closely, showing absolutely no concern for the animal's safety during the dangerous and highly volatile procedure. They tried feeding Chen the pill, but Hao heard the instructor's heavy footsteps, so he ran outside to try and delay them. However, the teacher was not interested in his tactics. When she entered the room, the teacher was ready to see whether his furnace actually refined any spirit orbs. Hao begged her not to expel him. She saw that he had actually refined one of the orbs, and Hao realized that Wang sacrificed his own pill for his dear friend. But just then it was his turn, and the teacher screamed at him for creating explosives. Seeing how Wang replaced Chen's orb into his microwave and sacrificed his own grade for his friends made him realize that Wang was the greatest friend in this world. But he did not realize that Wang actually did nothing, because when washing the furnace the pill had simply been there all along. They had cooked it without either one of them knowing. His microwave was as useless as he was, but nothing was as useless as the cauldron carrying Chen except maybe for Chen's face. By the time he woke up he saw that his furnace was repaired and Hao told him to thank Wang for all his hard work, sparking a bromance between the two new best buddies. When school was over the next day, Sun began approaching her useless, ugly, and pathetic prey, but instead of being the hunter she was actually the one being hunted. Without any hesitation she asked Wang if he wanted to go on a date tomorrow, but Wang stared at her with the same worthless face as always. At the same time the hunters were given the order to shoot Sun, but as soon as they shot, Wang deflected their shots back with a single stare. The poor assassins fell down. The teacher called Wang out of the class and she wondered why he was avoiding her. At the same time, the snipers decided to fall back at their boss's command and Froggy saw everything from a distance. Sun thought that Wang said yes to her date when he was just saying yes to the teacher, so she was excited to go on a date with him tomorrow. The student body questioned how his repulsive, worthless mug secured a date, for if a wretch like him could acquire girls, why did every female flee from them in sheer terror? A seductive bunny girl sensed that events were becoming truly interesting. Inside the main office, the principal ordered the teacher to depart right away. The principal introduced himself as Ju, the witness who observed his capacity to vanquish the giant frog all those many years prior. He dropped to his knees and begged Wang to become his honored master. However, Wang unleashed 50% of his memory erasure magic spell. Once he was finally solitary, Froggy informed him regarding the assassins. As he slept, he endured recurring nightmares regarding Sun's absolutely crazy behavior. Yet when he rose from bed wearing his bunny suit, he spotted Sun waiting outside the window with her full army, and he wished that he would simply perish right then and there. Neither of his parents would typically agree to this arrangement, but they believed their son would never actually bring a living girl home. Consequently, they begged him to carry some protection. His father questioned how Wang was conceived when he always utilized strict protection, but his mother told him not to worry about specific details. Checking his phone, he saw friends wishing him the absolute greatest night of romantic plot development. Without even realizing it, his parents shoved him outside where Sun stated he could do anything he desired in the back seat. As they drove away, the assassins continued tailing the vehicle. Sun informed him that she was taking him directly to the Heavenly Paradise Carnival grounds. That entire castle was constructed for Sun to spend time there with her beloved, and she confessed it was her first time visiting this specific location. Wang wondered why he was stuck with her ugly self, but she laughed because his face was even worse. Upon arrival, she told the guards to leave immediately because Wang was stronger than all of them combined. Yet 5 minutes later, all guards were neutralized by the assassins standing before a large prophecy wall. Sun dragged him to discover the future of their relationship, and the assassin fired a bullet at that instant. However, Wang slowed time to locate the bullet and caught it with his mouth, launching it back at the gun and sending the man flying backward. She wondered what neurological disorder he possessed, but he flashed her memory away. She paused, and she forgot seeing anything at all happen. The assassins wondered why these guns possessed much more recoil than CSGO. As they glided across the steel while being followed, Wang exploded the assassins trailing directly behind them. Wang attempts to procure a gift for her, but the situation spirals. He causes a stack of heavy logs to collapse directly upon them, wiping her memory to hide the error. Just as they prepare to board another ride, the assassin leader snaps his fingers. A massive stone boulder plummets from above, crushing the ground, though they survive unscathed. By the time night falls, the shadowing assassins are left baffled, cursing the inexplicable misfortune plaguing their mission. Sun asks Wang if he would accompany her on the Ferris wheel to watch the fireworks display. He agrees to the request, internally hoping this ride will finally grant him a fleeting moment of peace alongside her. However, the assassins pursue, hopping into the gondola behind them. Jugi senses his master is in grave peril and immediately signals for backup. As the couple ascends high into the air, vibrant fireworks begin detonating across the distant horizon. While Wang is momentarily distracted, the killers aim guns at him and Sun, forcing the pair to sit intimately close together. Despite the lethal danger aimed at his head, Wang feels relief that Sun's incessantly loud mouth has finally been silenced for a few seconds. Sun begs the gunman to release her friend. Hearing her call him friend, she breaks down crying, pleading for Wang to flee and save himself. Instead, Wang stands, eyes gleaming with power. He unleashes a telekinetic force, violently hurling one comrade out of the cabin. When the remaining killer begs for his life, Wang ignores the plea, summoning a colossal phoenix from the sky to strike the man down instantly. Amidst the explosions, Wang extracts a promise of secrecy. He utilizes his full power to seal Sun's memories of the night deep within rather than erasing them. It is the first time he has ever desired for someone to know his true self, marking the genesis of their new relationship. The fireworks continue to illuminate the dark sky in the distance. The next day at school, the teacher warns Sun that the hitmen who attacked her in the park survived and are concocting a new plan. However, when Sun claims she has no memory of the attack, Zhuyi arrives, boasting that he personally eliminated the threat. The previous night after the couple returned from the Ferris wheel, Wang watched Sun depart before casting a spell on Zhuyi, implanting false memories that he defeated the hitmen. Zhuyi presents a letter revealing that assassins intend to invade the school grounds to capture Sun. With a sharp snap, the school gate seals shut as soldiers barricade the premises. Inside the schoolyard, however, a golden phase ninja named Zhu Fang bursts out from the earth. He knocks out a security guard with a rubber chicken before brutally pounding another. In the corridor, a golden phase ninja named Sang arrived, blasting the opposition straight out the window with a powerful gust. The instructor evaded a lethal chalk projectile that punctured the concrete wall, cracking the solid structure like a heavy sledgehammer strike. Looming over the intruder, the teacher declared he would crush the assassin beneath his heel like a common, insignificant insect. Elsewhere, Wang received a notification regarding a prize, a complimentary pack of crispy noodles. Intent on claiming his reward, he exited. Back in the hallway, the teacher wove around attacks, though the ninja remained determined to prove his lethal worth in combat. Sang hurled a weapon, then another. Activating a spell, he triggered the projectiles to expand rapidly and detonate in violent explosions. The teacher effortlessly crushed a spiked sphere, mocking Sang as a worthless, disappointing amateur for bringing such useless toys into battle. As the instructor advanced, the ninja cast a toxic burst to cover his retreat. He fled, slamming into the door just as Wang stepped out, ignoring the collision to walk away. Meanwhile, Zhu Fang neutralized another security team. Attempting to extract, he encountered the school dog standing quietly in his escape path. He attempted to pet the creature, but it bit his hand. He flung the animal away, only to realize his spiritual energy had been completely drained. Instantly, his physical form withered. The dog transformed, revealing a massive green frog towering directly before his terrified, widening eyes. The beast charged a blast. Zhu Fang attempted to flee, but his spine snapped under the pressure, allowing the frog to instantly vanquish the intruder. A third assassin, Zhu Giant, infiltrated the grounds, gathering immense energy to demolish the entire school premises with a single strike. Relying on an invisibility cloak, he believed he was undetectable. However, Wang walked outside to collect his noodles, casually informing Zhu Giant that he was as visible as the noon sun. After city heroes scanned the package, Wang secured his prize. Returning with the noodles, he heard Zhu Giant desperately claiming that Wang never actually saw him. Wang dismissed him as a useless loser, adding the insult that the ninja's face smelled distinctly like urine. Humiliated and desperate to save face, Zhu Giant unleashed a massive spell that rippled across the entire school grounds. His war hammer oozing with raw power, he raised the weapon high and brought it down hard upon Wang. The weapon shattered on impact. The assassin realized his face truly did smell like urine before collapsing to his knees in defeat. As Wang began dragging the defeated assassin away, Zhuyi hurried to his side, insisting that he would not forget him this time. Wang responded by casting a new spell, altering the man's memory to make him believe he had successfully executed the ninja. But throughout the following week, Wang pretended to remain sick, lying in bed all day to avoid school, reinforcing his image as a lazy, useless kid. When his friends arrived to see him, Sun attempted to administer a massive injection to cure him. Terrified, Wang told her he had recovered and hurriedly scrambled out of bed. Before long, they sat at the table together, deciding to take a spiritual power test to measure their abilities. Chen stepped forward, deciding to give it the first shot. As he summoned his spiritual force, a powerful light bulb appeared before them, serving as a measure of his total spiritual strength. Meanwhile, located in another high school, a group of students were taking the same tests. As Tang Jian summoned his own spiritual force, the system scored him 1950 and the students dismissed him as a useless loser. Consequently, their leader Tang Jian decided to show his own ability. As he drew his spiritual force, a powerful breeze blew across the room. His number continued to rise on the system until he was raised to the first position, and the students began cheering for him. Back at the house, Guo Hao only managed to summon a pathetic tiny ball. He tried hugging the ground as punishment, but Chen physically restrained him. Sun suggested taking her test another time, fearing she might wreck the house, but the boys were eager to see her powers and persuaded her. By the time she was done, the system raised her to the second position. When it was Wang's turn, he realized he had no time to prepare. He thought of using his littlest spiritual force to keep his full abilities hidden. However, as he began to summon his powers, the force of it nearly blew everyone away. He barely managed to teleport the miniature sun he had inadvertently created outside the Earth's orbit to prevent a catastrophe. By the time he was done, the system revealed his score was uncountable and decided to put him in first place. At the same time in the opposing school, they noticed Wang had taken first place on the test board. Staring at the impossible numbers, they concluded the system must be suffering a glitch, as they could not believe the score with their own eyes. As the group dispersed, Wang overheard Guo plotting to breach the mainframe, intending to hack the system and artificially inflate his humiliatingly low score to a respectable level. That night, while Guo attempted to hack the database to sabotage Wang, he decided to summon a mystical password formation scroll to help. When the scroll materialized before him, he cast a detection spell throughout the room, hoping to reveal the hidden access code within. When the ritual concluded, he realized the password remained invisible to his sight, and he angrily hurled his book aside in frustration. Wang intervened, noting the password was merely 8 stars, and Guo's incompetent hands actually managed to unlock the secure computer terminal. At the rival academy, Tang Jian and a cohort had also breached the secure school network. However, they failed to locate the target score, discovering that a new hacker had already infiltrated the system long before them. Simultaneously, Guo noticed Tang Jian holding second place, recalling that this specific student used to mercilessly bully him just a few years prior. Suddenly, the system alarm triggered, and the students frantically attempted to quit the session before they were discovered by the admins. A group of students entered the room, realizing Tang Jian's name had been altered on the system. Assuming he had done it himself, they mocked him, declaring that he was truly a worthless, pathetic loser. A few weeks later at school, the teacher told the instructor he intended to send Wang and his friends to a major swords competition with the opposing school. They had suffered defeat for 13 years in a row, and the teacher hoped Wang would be their good luck charm who would finally help them to win the elusive gold medal. However, when the instructor told them they needed to send 5 students out for the competition, Zhuoye said the dog would fill the 5th position, wondering how the beast would compete without a proper humanoid form. Zhuoye commanded the beast to turn. It transformed into a faceless human, but returned to dog form when they were too disgusted to look at its twisted face. However, she still thought the dog would be disallowed from competing since it did not partake in the mandatory spiritual force test. Hoping to rectify their blunder, Zhuoye wore the armband on the beast and promised to free the frog spirit if it managed to win the entire competition. To prove his determination, the beast scored 5,000 points and was instantly raised to second place. That evening, after school was over, the boys told Sun goodbye and began to head back home. That night, the teacher gathered the students to formally announce that they had been selected to represent the school at the upcoming swords competition. She instructed everyone to prepare their spiritual swords for the fight. The students immediately began displaying their special spiritual weapons. When they finished, they realized that Wang had not revealed his own sword. He descended the stairs into the basement to retrieve the weapon, but the spirit of the sword emerged from the box. Wang panicked and quickly dipped the blade back inside the box to suppress it. The following day, he finally decided to reveal the weapon to his friends, but they judged the blade as far too short, convinced it would be weak and ineffective in battle. When the teachers arrived, they announced that the team would reside at the opposing school until the contest began, granting them ample time to train. At that moment, the bus arrived, and they started heading inside. Meanwhile, the leader of the ninjas observed them from across the street and began to trail the bus as they departed, seizing the chance to finally capture Sun. Inside the transport bus, Wang's spirit attempted to escape, but he physically forced it back down, terrified that the ghastly sight would scare everyone off the vehicle. Upon finally arriving at the grounds of the opposing school, the group was welcomed by teacher Li Xuan and several of her competing students. However, because teacher Li Xuan and the instructor were known mortal enemies, Zi, the opposing director, deliberately ignored her rival, turning to Sun to say she was delighted to meet her instead. The instructor retaliated viciously, calling Zi's students useless little trash who were far too twisted for their own good. Zi immediately thought of repaying these harsh words with violence, and blasted a beam of light straight into Wang. At once he collapsed to the floor, pretending to be severely hurt, but his spirit appeared before him once more, urgently warning him about the state of his amulet. Before he could react, the amulet detonated, erupting into the most massive fiery blast anyone had ever witnessed. The inferno surged high toward the heavens, blasting everything in sight with a ferocious wind, while a mighty flame continued burning with intense heat until the energy finally vanished from the amulet. Weakened significantly from the massive eruption, Wang asked the spirit why he had not warned him earlier. The spirit replied that Wang had silenced him from talking while they were inside the bus. As Sun and the instructor rushed to help him, they began to wonder what could have triggered the eruption. Even Zi was confused at the sight of Wang becoming sick, because her blast was only meant to test his abilities, not harm him. After Wang was carried off into the school building, Sun tried joining him, but Tang Jian stood in her way. He arrogantly asked if she remembered his face from their past encounter, but she dismissed him immediately, thinking he was simply too ugly and disgusting to ever remember. When the arrogant boy refused to leave, Sun attempted to punch him, but her fist was caught by Tang Jian's partner, Yishi. Tang Jian told Sun that they intended to eliminate Wang completely before the competition began. At that instant, Wang's body began to burn from a mysterious, sudden flame. Zai appeared, binding him down with a restrictive, tight wrapping spell. Angered by the sight of this assault, Sun drew her sword. As she tried to strike Tang Jian, the teacher caught her blade, telling her to control her volatile emotions immediately. Inside the medical room, when the staff tried to treat Wang, they discovered that he had mysteriously vanished from sight. Meanwhile, Wang was trying to find his way out of the school grounds. He used a flash trick to suppress his amulet, but feared that his powers would erupt at any given moment now. He called his father, telling him that his power seal was starting to break apart fast. Immediately, his father readied himself and took off on his flying light sword. Wang continued through the school, hoping to find his way out very soon. At the same time, his friends made their way into the large school gym. Sai welcomed them again, explaining the rules of the swords competition, stating that the team with the highest score would be crowned the ultimate winner. When Guo pointed out that his ugly team of bullies were also a man short, a wave rose towards them, nearly drenching their clothes as a mysterious figure appeared right before them. In a flash, he whisked to Sun and offered her a rose, but she told him that the rose was as ugly as his horrendous face is. Hoping to impress her, Bu Fang said that Zi hired him to crush their team, but was willing to switch sides in exchange for a one-night stand. With Chen having desired a one-night stand of his own, his anger began to grow. He tried punching Bu Fang but was blown away. However, he decided to return to the fight again. Bu Fang punched him away, flew at him with a kick, knocked him around like a useless doll, and pounded him hard to the ground. Chen rose through the smoke, determined to fight once more now. As he oozed with a flaming aura, he charged once more, but Bu Fang dodged him and caused his hand to vanish before throwing him away. Luckily, Wang caught him, and Chen realized that his hand had been restored in that instant. So he flew forward with a punch. But Wang stood his ground and merely walked away from him there. When they returned to the school, Wang revealed that he intended to find some limited crispy noodles because he could never have enough of it. Liu Yan, the lethal leader of the assassins, watched from the shadows, waiting for the perfect moment to launch her ambush on the unsuspecting group from the darkness. Bu Fang appeared behind her, aggressively demanding to know exactly who she was and why she was there. She lied, claiming she belonged to the school's humble cleaning department. He thought she was the worst liar the entire world had ever seen, wondering if she dropped straight down from the ceiling. Still, he thought she was the new Mona Lisa, offering her red roses for a one-night stand. She smacked them away, calling him a broke loser who deserved absolutely nothing. Looking at the score, he told her that her face was so ugly he would rather stay alone forever than sleep with her. She punched him with an invisible blow, saying he would never recognize true beauty even if it trucked him in the face. Delighted to take on the challenge, he began to rise with a terrifying dark aura, ready to squash her with his great and terrible power. As he summoned dark energy to pulverize her, she squeezed it, making it vanish into nothingness in an instant. At the same time, Wang was returning with his beloved crispy noodles when he found Liu Yan about to annihilate Bu Fang. Before anyone knew it, she captured him, tossing both of them aside effortlessly after binding them in immortal ropes. As a mysterious old man appeared beside her, she wondered if they should throw Wang down the roof, but the man pulled Bu Fang instead. Wang's amulet tried unleashing from the chain, and the sword spirit warned Wang about impending destruction as lightning flew across the sky and fierce wind blew violently through the surrounding trees. However, when Wang failed to regain consciousness, the spirit screamed that free noodles were being served inside the school. After hearing that, Wang immediately returned to his senses completely. The old man gave Liu Yan a piece of Bu Fang's hair as she looked to infiltrate the school with a disguising spell. Inside, Zhu and the instructor debated over whose face was uglier. Suddenly, Bu Fang entered the faculty office stating Wang had been abducted, but they did not realize this was actually Liu Yan, who had transformed into Bu Fang using the powerful disguising spell. On the rooftop, the man told Bu Fang that Liu Yan merely intended to borrow his physical form for a few hours before finally executing him. Desperate to change his luck, Bu Fang offered to join their faction and asked to be released. But the old man told him that he was simply too moronic for his own good. However, when he chose to insult the elder as a spineless weakling incapable of facing off against him on his absolute worst day, the man cast a piercing light directly into the ground before him. Bu Fang panicked completely, realizing his entire plot was now nearly fried just like bacon. He had not realized that the old man was an overpowered spiritual infant who could vanquish him in a single snap. Simultaneously, Bu Fang continued his nonsense story regarding exactly how he managed to escape, while Liu Yan forcefully dragged Wang far away from him. Hearing these words, Zhu Yi revealed that Liu Yan was the leader of the Shadow faction currently attempting to eliminate Sun completely. At Tang Jian's command, Yishi began scanning for the presence of any other spiritual forces hidden within the school. After she discovered their whereabouts, Sun's security detail snuck up on her and bundled her away, determined to keep her safe from the threat. The head of security insisted Sun's safety was their priority and that her annihilation would render them all useless and without a single paying job. However, Sun returned, having knocked out the useless and moronic security. She declared that Wang was the love of her life and she could never abandon him for all the money in this whole wide world. She said she did not care at all about Liu Yang, but only cares to have the love of her life by her side again because she was starting to dream about their wedding together right on the rooftop. As the man was ready to end Bu Fang, the coward began screaming for help like a hopeless, useless child who had already wet his pants. The man raised his foot and shook the building with a heavy stomp, leaving Bu Fang unconscious. At the same time, Sun and her security began charging towards the building, watching as Wang was raised high up on a wooden cross. As the security flew closer on their light swords, they tried evading several blasts and one tried to unleash his magic but was blown to bits instantly. Before the others drew closer, a light beam vanquished them, creating flaming balls in the dark sky. Looking to reveal his own power, the old man directed a light towards the skies that spread into a great circle and began summoning a mighty army of yellow knights. But as they started charging forward, Sun cast a direct light that instantly destroyed the circle. As she stood midair with swords around her, she slashed the knights and tried parrying the flaming swords. But the old man thought she would soon meet her doom. Before long, she was caught in a mighty force and began falling towards the hard ground. Wang snapped back to reality, the prediction fading. Having watched Bu Fang fall to the lower floor, he freed himself but arranged it so Jui received credit for the rescue. When support arrived, an officer asked Wang if there were any missing people involved in the incident. Wang lied, claiming everyone was accounted for. He intended to keep Bu Fang isolated until the system disqualified him from the competition. To ensure this, he ordered his sword spirit to keep the unconscious boy hidden away safely, until the cancellation was officially and permanently finalized. However, the next day, as they prepared for the event, Wang spotted a Bu Fang in the queue. Clearly, the plan had gone south. Once the instructor announced the start, students began vanishing into the crystals to enter the arena. Wang's father rushed in, desperate to alter Wang's seal before he was transported into the game world, but realized he was too late. Wang had already disappeared into the digital realm before his father arrived. Inside the system world, the opposing team noticed Sun and her group had scattered across the island, aiming to acquire the strategic altars first. However, realizing Wang's presence was undetectable, Tang Jian volunteered to destroy him and sped away. As Tang Jian sprinted through the dense forest, Gu Hao emerged from the shadows and decided to track the speeding enemy down. Believing he could win, Chen heard the system announce the enemy was seizing altars. Needing to even the score, he rushed toward his objective. Suddenly, a cut opened on his face as a mighty wind scattered the leaves. Arriving at the tree, he wondered how to claim the altar, but Yishi appeared behind him, claiming the capture point first. Chen readied for battle, daring her to strike. Instantly, he was trapped inside a glowing magical web. Under Yishi's spell, he began violently punching his own face and smashing his body repeatedly against the hard ground. Simultaneously, Bu Fang managed to evade a spirit beast, summoning lightning before charging at the spirit dog with a heavy blow. Upon realizing his spiritual force was critically drained, he narrowly dodged the beast once again and decided to retreat immediately to safety before he lost all his remaining powers. Elsewhere, Tang Jian found Wang on the ground, thinking his duty of claiming the altar for his team could not be easier. However, Wang managed to stand up slowly. Tang Jian drew his sword, ready to execute him on the spot. But as a spell flew toward him, he slashed it away, revealing Gu Hao standing defiantly right before him. Determined to finish this, Tang Jian attacked Gu Hao, and they began clashing swords in a violent, sparking tussle of strength. Sun moved swiftly to claim an altar, sensing her team's increasingly desperate position. She narrowly evaded a swinging blade, countering by hurling her own weapon outward. The steel transformed midair into a shimmering sword spirit just as Tang Jian materialized directly before her, flanked by his own formidable spectral avatar ready for immediate combat. Tang Jian mocked her, urging Sun to abandon her band of failures. She answered with a concussive blast, commanding her spirit to charge forward. She ascended as a hydro dragon, but Tang Jian's spirit slashed through the liquid form instantly. As Tang Jian reformed, Sun realized the enemy had successfully captured yet another vital altar located nearby. Sun demanded to know how Tang Jian monitored the entire island with such terrifying godlike precision. He smirked, revealing they had hacked the system before the competition began to exploit the site's surveillance feed. Simultaneously, Sun received a crushing notification that Chen had been defeated and his altar seized by the ruthless opposition forces. She recalled her spirit into the blade, gripping the hilt to charge Tang Jian. Before she could strike, Tang Jian unleashed his cryomancy, freezing the churning water into a vast sheet of jagged ice. With time expiring, Sun flashed forward, shattering the frozen surface, but Tang Jian's spirit summoned a gale force wind that violently blasted her backward and away. She recovered, launching a projectile before engaging in a furious sword duel. She flipped and vaulted over the ice, driving the battle onto a bridge with a relentless onslaught. Suddenly, the ice detonated around Sun. A doppelganger, fake Bufeng, materialized before her, summoning a dark orb charged with lethal energy to eliminate her permanently from the ongoing game. A catastrophic wind swept the island, signaling a greater enemy's presence. Sun utilized the chaos to escape. Unopposed, Tang Jian drove his blade into the altar to claim it. However, a glance at the scoreboard froze him. Sun's team was rallying, systematically retaking the altars across the map despite the overwhelming odds stacked against them. Earlier, Guo and Tang Jian had fought to absolute exhaustion, leaving Guo drained of spells. Tang Jian advanced, kicking Wang aside for his perceived uselessness in the fight. Enraged by the disrespect, Guo dug deep to unleash fresh spells, but Tang Jian slashed them aside with sheer contempt, mocking his futile, desperate efforts. Guo remained relentless, casting magic as if his life depended on it. His passion ignited Wang, whose dormant power suddenly erupted violently. Seeing an opportunity, the beast rushed in to drain the energy and restore its strength. However, Wang had exposed himself intentionally to bait the creature into a dangerous trap. Wang anticipated this liberation. With the spirit dog consuming his negative energy, his suppressed power detonated. He initiated a fusion with the beast, aura flaring. Tang Jian, oblivious to the danger, mocked Wang as a loser, laughing at his perceived incompetence. Wang advanced silently. With a casual flick of his finger, he shattered Tang Jian's blade into dust. A mere tap on the shoulder followed, launching the bully violently into the stratosphere, removing him from the battlefield for good. Obstacle removed, Wang secured the altar. He immediately relocated, arriving at the next objective where he discovered Chen unconscious. He roused his ally. Disoriented, Chen woke in a panic, mistaking Wang for a hostile combatant and bracing for a fight. Wang ignored the defensive posture, stepped past him, and drove his spirit sword directly into the stone mechanism, claiming the point without a single word. Chen celebrated the victory prematurely. System blared an alert. The opposition had recaptured a previous node. Wang calculated the tactical necessity. They needed simultaneous control of all 5 altars. He erupted in spiritual flame, preparing to utilize godlike speed to tag every location at once. Sun interrupted him via the communication link. She reported a critical failure. Guo had abandoned his defensive post after being ambushed by 2 enemies, leaving a dangerous gap. Chen demanded to know why Guo fled. Guo responded with self-loathing, calling himself a useless glutton unfit for combat. Sun cut through the pity party. She outlined the only path to victory: coordinate a simultaneous seizure of every altar. Once captured, they had to defend the points for a few critical seconds until the system declared them the winners. Sun and Guo mobilized toward the next target. Sun utilized Guo's spherical form, rolling him like a bowling ball before launching him toward the cave entrance. Guo crashed down and immediately taunted the defender, hurling insults about the man's father. While Guo drew aggro, Sun stealthily flanked toward the altar. The defender recognized the distraction and pivoted to intercept her, but Guo fired a disruption spell to check his advance. Disaster struck. Guo stumbled during the cast, sending the spell careening into Sun, knocking her back. As she scrambled to recover, Tang Jian materialized, screaming at his partner to secure the energy pulse. The enemy sprinter dashed for the objective. Sun raced to beat him there. Guo summoned massive earthen boulders to block the path, but the opponent smashed through the obstacles, drawing his blade. Sun conjured a volley of energy swords, launching them to intercept the runner. She attempted to capitalize on the chaos, but Tang Jian's sword spirit manifested instantly. The spirit slashed outward, shattering Sun's weapons into fragments before they could connect. Outmatched and unable to breach their defense, Sun made the difficult tactical decision to retreat. Wang voiced the desperate command aloud, proposing they return to the past to alter the future. He immediately summoned a colossal force over the sky, refusing to listen when the spirit beast warned that changing the future violated the laws of nature and that he could lose all his powers as a consequence. As Wang merged his essence with the beast, a powerful light descended from the sky, initiating his dangerous time-warping journey. Inside the new world, Wang arrived at school for his first day of the school year, but was stopped by 2 aggressive seniors, exactly like in the beginning. When they asked for protection money and pushed him away, Wang thought that Sun would come to his rescue again, but Chen violently punched away a senior bully and introduced himself. The second bully tried knocking him but was blasted backward by the stoic Guo. After Guo introduced himself, Wang tried offering his money, but they declined it. Inside the class, Wang thought Sun was about to look at him and stood excitedly, but the girl was not Sun. As they returned home from school, Wang saw Sun inside a car and began to chase it down. By the time they arrived at a stoplight, Wang hurried to look inside the vehicle but discovered that the girl was not Sun. Wang had not realized that his spell had created a whole new alternate world. As he drew power from his lights, rocks began to ascend into the air. Deep inside the underworld, a man introduced Sun Rong to the demon queen. After realizing she was Wang's lover, she hurried away and promised to return her to life immediately. As she activated her device, Sun's spirit flew into her body and was fully restored once more. In the new world, Wang tried telling his friends that he has been on this spot before and with a special girl too. Chen told him to quit dreaming because he was too ugly to ever have any girls. In the real world, Wang's spirit told Sun that Wang had created a new world, hoping to reunite with her and that their entire Earth would vanish if Wang continued draining the planet. He suggested that Sun try to rescue him immediately before it was too late. Wang rode on the Ferris wheel with his friends but was deeply sad that Sun was not by his side. In the real world, as Sun readied herself for the rescue, the spirit transformed into a powerful sword. As she rushed forward, she flew high and began to dodge all the energy blasts coming her way until she managed to successfully stab Wang, freezing him and breaking his enchantment. Seeing the flower in his hand, he told his friends that he had to return to his reality. Just then, the enchantment broke apart, and Sun was able to pull Wang outside as they finally reunited once again. Returning to the past, Chen faced off with Bufang, tossing his sword by his side. However, when the system announced that Sun's team was starting to take the lead, Liu Yan grew tired of hiding and burst out to end Chen right on the spot. But a sudden force from Wang eliminated her, so he stuck his blade into the altar and they were declared the winners. With their victory, Sun began hurrying towards Wang, but a group of reporters appeared to ruin their parade completely. After Sun had rescued Wang from his enchantment, he realized that he had lost his preparing ability, so the beast told him that it was his punishment for trying to destroy the world. Wang wondered how they could return to their own world. The dog told them that they could only reverse the time, but said that Sun would lose her memories of this event. Sun thought it was a worthy sacrifice to restore the world and told Wang that she would always stay by his side forever. Shortly, Wang's father arrived with the amulet and decided to seal Wang's powers and with it his emotions. By the following day, Wang had withdrawn into his usual silence and was starting to hate his life all over again. When the instructor arrived, she told the students that they would be having another spiritual force test and that any student who wasn't in the intermediate phase would be expelled from the elite class entirely. Afraid that Wang would fail his own test, Sun hurried to him and told him to release all his energy inside of her so that he would reach his intermediate phase. But Chen was about to end his life. However, Wang thought he needed to save his strength and vanished from the class. While inside the restroom, Guo began suggesting that they create foundation pills to enhance their spiritual energy for the test. Afraid of failing like his useless father, he began to beg Wang for his support, so he agreed to help him. When the test was about to begin, the instructor decided to give the students a show of his own spiritual energy. Immediately, dark clouds began to spread above him, and a powerful thunderbolt descended on him, blowing a wind across the field. When the dust began to clear, the teacher told them that the only way to pass the test was to survive the thunderbolt. After the first student was scorched by lightning, Sun feared Wang would suffer the same fate, noticing he was nowhere within her sight. At the same time, inside the class, Guo was secretly cooking the foundation pills. When he realized the instructor was heading straight towards them, he began to panic wildly. So Wang doused him with a bucket of water. By the time the instructor arrived, they decided to pretend they were drying their soaking wet clothes. But she began to scream at them, threatening to kick them out of the school if she caught them cheating. Guo told her that they had fallen into a pool and were merely trying to dry up their clothes. However, she thought that Guo was a useless liar and decided to look for herself. As she began approaching him, the dog lunged at her, but she knocked it away. However, when she looked inside the furnace, she saw filthy, crusty socks within and refused to know what was hidden inside them. With the boys alone again, Wang wondered where Guo had hidden the pills, so he told him that he had swallowed them. At that instant, he began to burn with a great power as the pills were starting to digest inside of him. As his powers grew out of control, he began to expand like he was about to blow up. But Wang struck him and he flew across the room, deflating like a punctured rubber balloon. By the time he woke up, he discovered that he was being summoned for his test. So he hurried off, hoping to utilize his cheating pills. However, he soon realized that the pills had been fully ruined and had lost their enhancing ability. Luckily, as he tried unleashing his power, his spiritual energy drew a powerful lightning that he managed to resist. When it was Wang's turn, the teacher gave him a helmet, expecting that he would be burned to ash. But as Wang summoned his own power, a great cloud began to stretch across the yard, and a thunderbolt descended on him. As the cloud began to stretch over the city, a terrible wind blew everything in sight. With the city about to be destroyed, the teacher tried pulling the device's main power plug, but the lights started going off around the city and the spiritual force in the universe continued dropping. As the students joined the teacher to pull the plug, Wang decided to throw his sword towards Sun. And when she caught it, they appeared inside a strange new world. So he told her to destroy the system with his sword. So she cut the wire with a single swing. A spirit lion tore across the field, pulverizing the earth and parting the sea in a violent instant. Wang emerged from the dust unscathed, leaving the instructor gaping, wondering if the boy hailed from an alien planet entirely. Yet nobody perceived that the force of his sword had slashed a fissure in space, opening a gateway to the hell dimension where beasts waited for this exact moment. Weeks later, inside the classroom, the instructor presented a new student, announcing that she was being promoted to the elite sector for having successfully passed the spiritual energy test. Wang realized he had encountered her in the alternate world he created for Sun, leading him to question if the boundaries of both worlds were starting to collide. After class concluded, the boys spotted a mysterious girl moving through the hallway. Hoping to uncover her true identity, they chose to shadow her. But when they arrived inside a private room, they found she had inexplicably vanished. Consequently, they decided to snoop around, hoping to locate her exact whereabouts. However, when Wang warned them that someone was approaching the room, they quickly scrambled to hide away. Before long, the new girl Li Yao entered the chamber, hoping for some alone time. When she attempted to remove her armor, Guo and Chen decided to reveal themselves to her. They tried explaining that they had lost their way, but the girl labeled them a pair of ugly, disgusting weirdos. As she flung her broom at a statue, it began to spin until the floor split open and they fell into the hole. Knowing they were hopeless without him, Wang decided to follow them down inside. Meanwhile, in the abyss, the mysterious girl from the demon realm appeared before her sister, Liu Yan. Delighted to see her, Liu Yan told her to set her free immediately. But the woman from the demon realm told her that she came to eliminate her as she drew her magical bow. She told Liu Yan that annihilating her was her punishment for failing to end Sun and fired a warning shot that bruised her face. Just then, Wang and the others began falling towards the bottom. Wang awkwardly apologized for interrupting their conversation. However, before they turned into pancakes, Wang summoned a hole in the ground which led into a secret chamber. As they began to look around, they spotted the photo of a lady and realized that she was the woman from the demon realm. At the same time in the abyss, the woman from the demon realm began to accuse Liu Yan of stealing her position as the leader of the Shadow faction. 10 years ago, when the demon frog had invaded the city, she was unluckily blown out of her plane and drawn into the portal to work as a hot secretary for the demon lord. She accused Liu Yan of attacking her plane in hopes of stealing her position and separating her from her lover. So she said that ending her would be a fitting reward for her betrayal. But as she fired an arrow, the teacher appeared to save Liu Yan. He told the woman from the demon realm that Liu Yan never attacked her plane. Because 10 years ago, when the mystical portal opened over the city and the demon frog had begun to consume everyone's spiritual force, Wang had appeared to vanquish it with a blast. This blast had blown the woman from the demon realm's plane open. However, before crashing, Wang had saved it with his powers, but the woman from the demon realm was unluckily blown away from her lover and into the portal. Realizing the teacher was her past lover, the woman from the demon realm told him that she has missed him and desires to remain by his side forever. He told her that he has waited for her ever since she vanished and was hoping to develop a plot with her all through the night. So they began making out in front of her poor trapped sister who wished she was dead instead of watching them. At the same time in the chamber, Wang and the others realized that the place belongs to their teacher who had been searching for the love of his life and hoped that he would be reunited with her forever. A few days later, Wang and his friends arrived at a sword's shop hoping to buy a new sword. When they came across Li Yao, she told them she works in the shop and said that her duty was to maintain the swords. As they watched her do her business, Sun asked if she was an orphan. So she told them that she grew up all by herself and had only her sword spirit as her companion. She said that when she turned 8, her sword spirit had grown tired of seeing her ugly face and had decided to take a break. However, Li Yao was hoping to see her again and had taken up the duty of maintaining swords ever since. When they wondered why she had not bought a new sword, she told them that she could not afford one, because she spent all her money on crypto. As she let out those words, Tang Jian appeared before their eyes with his minions and called her the most useless servant in the world. When Guo asked if they wished to get their ass kicked again, Tang Jian told him that they merely intend to maintain their swords and commanded his minion to hand it over. Upon colliding with Li Yao, the boy instantly soiled his trousers and scrambled away in absolute trembling terror of her presence. Deep within the abyss, Liu Yan successfully summoned the woman from the demon realm's arrow, directing the weapon to smash violently against her heavy iron binding chains there. She tore through the seal, continuing the heavy onslaught upon the chains until the links finally snapped, granting Liu Yan her total, unrestricted freedom once again. Wondering exactly how she might escape, she spotted a gaping hole in the wall before her, realizing she merely needed to swim her way out to safety. Simultaneously, Guo and Chen finally concluded their urgent business nearby. As they wondered if a ghost caused the noises, a strange, distinct sound echoed from inside the restroom stalls nearby. Guo decided to move in and investigate it closer. Water suddenly gushed out before him, and Chen passed out after soiling his pants once again in fear. Wang and the girls arrived, seeing Liu Yan trying to pull herself out, so he immediately flushed her back down the dark drain pipe below. With Guo and Chen unconscious, they laid them in a private room, placing a restorative spell on them to help them fully regain their lost consciousness. Sun considered this her perfect opportunity to finally have Wang all to herself at last. When his sword spirit warned that Liu Yan was attempting to escape again, he immediately headed out to hunt for her without delay. Liu Yan stood inside an elevator, plotting dark revenge on her many hated enemies above. The elevator doors opened, and Wang immediately cast her hard into the ground below him. She managed to find her way outside, watching the couple walk through the school grounds together. As they stared at a mirror, Sun told Wang the mirror was a mystical portal leading from the human world into a different world, potentially leading deep into outer space with the correct magic spell cast. Before she could read her love lines, Wang was punched far into a wall, and Li Yao appeared before her eyes, having been fully possessed by a dark demon spirit. Sun summoned her sword, but Li Yao bound her with a dark spell as the moon began to turn blood red. The demon stated she intended to open a portal into the demon world and would seal her inside there forevermore within the void. As the moon became entirely red, the portal opened, leading straight into the dark demon world. As she drew Sun towards the portal, Liu Yan came flying towards them, determined to end Sun herself personally and violently. Wang appeared just in time to save her, causing Liu Yan to strike Li Yao with a deadly blow that knocked the demon into the portal, shattering the mirror instantly into pieces. As Liu Yan grew angry at her failure, Wang punched her straight into the wall, silencing the spirit for good. With peace finally restored, Wang inspected Sun's spiritual gift, relieved to confirm that she was still alive and well. Weeks later, Wang and the others arrived at Sun's family home, noticing that their million-dollar farm was starting to waste away into nothing but dust. Inside the family cave, Guo asked Sun if her useless father had gambled off all their valuable possessions at a casino. She replied that the loss of spiritual energy in the universe had caused their farm to start withering and dying, adding that without spiritual energy, they were better off abandoning the struggling farm entirely. Sun's mother appeared, stating the farm was a family inheritance and promising to never surrender their attempts of restoring the ancient land. Encouraged by her words, Sun's father said they would start replanting crops once the spiritual energy was restored. That evening after dinner, Wang asked Sun how they could restore the dying farm. She insisted they were better off abandoning it. She said the land was beginning to lose all its water since the spiritual force started vanishing. Once it dried up, their entire family farm would never be restored again. She thanked him for his offer to help, but stated she would rather take care of her own family business. That night on the train, while Wang and the others were traveling all the way back home, they discovered on the news that Sun's family intended to sell off their farm to Tang Jian's useless family and that Sun and Tang Jian would be signing a blood-borne marriage agreement. With the group in shock, they realized Sun's family must have been forced into the agreement. Convinced that it would lead to their doom, Wang suggested that they ruin the forced agreement before it was completed. So the following day, Wang and his friends returned to the family home, fully ready for battle. When they came across Tang Jian's team, Guo threatened to squash them like a crushed plastic cup, but Tang Jian told him that they had returned to avenge their defeat at the competition. As Chen charged at him, a blast went up high in the forests. Guo rushed forward and tried to end Chen but was trapped in Yishi's spell. Before Tang Jian could end Chen, Li Yao cast her own spell to free him, allowing him to strike back while Guo clashed blades with Chen. With Yishi wondering how the boys were freed, Li Yao began rushing straight to her, but she ran off. At the same time, Wang was running towards the cave, hoping to arrive there before the agreement was done. Inside the cave, Tang Jian and Sun were ready to seal the dark agreement. Deep inside the cave, Tang Jian immediately nipped his finger, stamping a bloody print onto the paper, declaring to Sun that he was eager to secure her as his new wife. When she attempted to slit her own skin, Wang suddenly materialized to stop her, seizing the love of his life to flee the chaotic scene. He told her he had arrived to rescue her from the dark agreement, vowing that he wished to remain by her side forever. However, as they flew from the cave, Sun's father intercepted them outside the entrance, insisting the agreement was the only solution to save the farm. Hearing his words, Sun withdrew from Wang's grasp, admitting that she had already promised to sign the binding agreement. She explained that after they left the cave yesterday, Tang Jian's father arrived, offering to invest heavily in their struggling company, but only in exchange for a blood-borne marriage to Tang Jian since the boy was too useless to find a wife for himself. Sun's father had accepted the deal immediately, and her mother agreed it was their singular hope for survival. Her father argued that agreeing to the offer would save their destitute family from abject poverty and ensure the family business remained alive. Their desperate words made her realize her broken family was truly hopeless. She told Wang it was her duty to hold the family together, stating she was willing to sacrifice her own happiness to marry the evil and disgusting Tang Jian. Resigned to her fate, she turned back toward the dark cave. As Wang and the others departed the area, he sensed a mysterious presence lurking deep within the lake. Deciding to investigate the anomaly, he suddenly hauled out a giant star worm that had been ruthlessly sucking all the spiritual force from the area around the farm. Determined to impress his crush, Wang struggled to extract the massive worm while his friends desperately supported him. As memories of Sun grew stronger in his mind, Wang released a powerful flame inside the beast, causing it to rise high into the air. Simultaneously, inside the cave, Sun slit her finger, ready to sign the binding contract. Suddenly, the worm exploded violently right before their eyes and fresh water gushed from the ground, instantly restoring the dry farm to life. Tang Jian's father tried persuading Sun to imprint the agreement, but her security interrupted to report the family business was booming again, and they realized Tang Jian's father could go screw himself. A few weeks later in the city, Wang and the girls discovered the streets overrun with mindless zombies who had fallen into Sun's love spell after her family's enchanted water accidentally leaked into the city's water supply. Consequently, they quietly began to sneak away from the chaotic mess. Before they retreated far, the zombies detected them and attempted to devour them, but Wang and the girls managed to escape. Seeing they were heading toward a dead end, Wang deployed his spirit sword as a magical skateboard, launching into the air with the girls until they landed on the rooftop. As they looked out at the city, they found millions of zombies in the streets who were trying to climb their way to the top of the building. Suddenly, Chen appeared in the street below, having been ensnared by Sun Rong's powerful enchantment. Stripping off his clothes, he began scaling the pile of zombies and sprinted up the walls before flying straight towards the roof. When he told Sun that he loved her, she called him a broke, ugly loser and said that he was too ugly to be loved by anyone. Her harsh words made him crash onto the roof, and they realized that her rejection had broken his spell. Looking to utilize this discovery, she screamed at the zombies below, calling them worthless, disgusting, good-for-nothings whose broken asses deserve absolutely no love. At that instant, the spell vanished from all the zombies. With the realization that the spell could be easily cancelled, Chen began to wonder how they could free the entire city. So Li Yao suggested that Sun live stream a video and reject everyone at the same time so that they would all be free from her spell. However, when she tried using her phone, she realized that there was no cell reception. As Liu Yan appeared on the cell tower before them, she shouted that she had cut off the reception and demanded that Sun surrender herself immediately, but they could not hear her words and tried warning her about a descending meteorite. Before she knew it, the meteorite appeared directly above her and she realized that the universe was certainly against her. And at that instant, she was blown completely to smithereens. With the cell tower destroyed, Wang suggested that they travel up to space for Sun's live stream. When Li Yao wondered how they would arrive in space, Wang showed them his tour tickets for a flight to a space station. Shortly, they began flying away on Wang's sword while the zombies ran after them. As they landed in the city, the zombies began approaching them, so Chen and Li Yao offered to stay behind and keep them away. Sun thought they would be crushed into bones and suggested running off together, but Chen promised to hold them off long enough for the couple to escape. At once, Wang took off with her. They sprinted into the train, the doors slamming shut just in time to successfully keep the ravenous zombies out. As the train took off towards deep space, the cars began to separate high in the air. With Wang and Sun finally left alone in the car, she hoped to hear his love confession. So he began telling her that he has always wished to have alone time with her and said that he has something important to tell her. She leaned in close, eager to hear the rest of his confession. She urged him to confess all his feelings, but he merely stated that he noticed the station was empty and thought that Chen and Li Yao would have loved the sight of outer space if they had come along with them. Just then, the automated system announced that they had reached the terminal station. When they arrived inside the station, Sun stepped out into the open and began to make her global live stream. As she introduced herself, she began telling everyone that she was born to a loving family and wanted to become the perfect daughter that would make them happy. However, when she got to high school, she realized that she was a screwed-up little child who needed to fall in love with a boy and make herself into a future wife. And when her family went bankrupt, she discovered that no one was special and that every good thing comes with a price. Ever since then, she began working to earn her own respect and became determined to never rely on her family's wealth. Although the world finally fell in love with her through her accidental love spell, she said that she doesn't need their love but only desires Wang's love forever. As she let out those words, the spell began to vanish from everyone instantly. Sun and Wang tried to enjoy the moment, but soon discovered that a massive, powerful meteorite was heading towards the Earth. With Sun afraid that they would all meet their doom, Wang merely drew his sword and flung it at the meteorite, shattering it in an instant as it dispelled into beautiful lights across the sky. With the threat vanquished, Sun suggested that they go see other parts of the station. But as they stepped outside, they realized that they had mysteriously transformed into three-dimensional characters. Hoping to discover a way out, Sun launched her sword, but it returned to her, making her realize that they were trapped inside a loop. Wang suggested breaking the wall and casting a guardian light to protect Sun Rang from freezing. However, as he punched a hole into the wall, they discovered that they were trapped inside a spatial cycle. Inside the demon realm, a servant reports to the emperor. He confirms that he has successfully trapped Wang inside a dimensional seal, utilizing the power of the dimensional lamps. He assures the emperor that this seal is absolute and can never be broken. Simultaneously on Earth, monsters begin to invade the world. One monster tries to end a man but is blasted away. Johnny stands before it, blasts it once more, and takes off, allowing the monster to chase him. Using a device, he tells his men to rescue the people away from the city, but a beast appears to them and ends them all instantly. At the terminal station, Wang manages to pull up the control panel. With a snap, he transforms them into a polygon form and Sun looks like the hot chick from GTA. She told him that she likes her new form and said that it makes her look like a useless video game character. But Wang realized that the Earth was being attacked. Inside the Earth, a large portal appeared over the sky and dozens of monsters began patrolling the city. The beast told Zhuo Yi to surrender, saying that the city was already surrounded and would soon be destroyed. But Zhuo Yi said that they would kick their ass back to their useless world. As an old magician walked into a magic circle, he began to summon a mighty thunder over the city, ready to annihilate the monsters. As lightning descended on him, a powerful light began to spread around him. When the beast tried to crush him, the other magicians supported him, causing the light to blow up at the monster. With the beast defeated, the magicians thought that the battle was over. Before their eyes, another portal opened in the sky and a demon carrier began descending towards the ground. Looking to destroy it, the old man began to unleash his powers. But the weight of the carrier destroyed the ground under him. As he tried releasing all his spiritual powers, more portals began to open across the cities, and several dozen carriers began to descend, crushing him under all the weight. Thousands of beasts began emerging from the holes and invaded the city. Meanwhile, in space, as Sun watched the world being destroyed, she began to wonder if the Earth could be saved. Wang told her that everyone could still be saved. As he returned with a mirror, he told her that the dimensional seal was like a video game, and Sun realized that they could destroy the seal by crushing the dimensional lamps. As Wang began to glow with a powerful light, the flames in the demon world began to burn brighter. Channeling Sun's spirit, Wang triggers a violent chain reaction. Light spears shatter every lamp until the terminal station seal finally dissolves. The binding spell breaks, instantly restoring the cursed couple to their true human forms. With the obstacle removed, Wang orders Sun to remain at the station while he saves the Earth. She warns him that his identity will be revealed to the world, but he insists that saving the world is far more important. He launches toward Earth, obliterating the enemy carriers with a single strike. But before he can unleash his full power, a mysterious girl materializes behind him, teleporting them both away from the battlefield instantly. Reappearing inside a moving train, Wang recognizes the girl as a girl from the butterfly race. She reveals she belongs to the butterfly race, a people who watched helplessly as their home world was annihilated by the demon emperor's ruthless army. Wang questions why they did not stand and fight. She explains that the demon emperor is far too powerful for anyone to defeat, stating he has conquered too many innocent worlds to count. Moments later, they materialize within the demon world. She demands a demon servant release her captured sister, revealing she brought Wang here to exchange him for her captured sibling's freedom. The demon slams her to the ground, calling her a useless, disgusting weakling who deserves to be vanquished for being so utterly moronic and gullible. However, when he tries forcing Wang down, the boy stands firm, blasting the creature deep into the stone walls. Impressed by this strength, the demon emperor calls Wang a worthy opponent, declaring he has not fought an enemy like him in 1,000 years. Rising into the air, he lands before Wang and demands to know his name. Wang simply replies that he is from the elite class of the Songhai faction back on Earth. Immediately, the emperor blasts him with a powerful punch, convinced the boy is pulverized. But Wang stands before his eyes unscathed, telling him that he punches like a pathetic weakling. Shortly, the demon crashes outside his castle from a devastating blow. Wang tells him that he tried to avoid any battles so that he would not destroy the entire Earth. Unwilling to accept defeat, the emperor takes off, ruthlessly destroying his own army in the process. Wang flies after him, deciding to fight back. The demon punches him far away, following in a streak of light before kicking him hard into a massive rock. Wang emerges and they fly around the rock before he evades a crushing blow from the demon. The entity pursued him, and they clashed in swirling, colorful lights, striking and kicking violently like sworn enemies. The demon spun into a mighty, destructive blast determined to crush Wang, spiraling wildly around the universe until he became completely exhausted from the effort. Realizing Wang remained unscathed, the emperor questioned his true identity. Wang began spinning him around, flinging him far off toward another planet where he crashed deep inside the ruins of his palace. Wang appeared before him, ready to finally end him, but the demon decided to surrender to save himself. In a flash, a servant appeared behind Wang, saying he discovered his weakness and had been waiting for the perfect moment to exploit it. Mistaking Wang's seal for his strength, he peeled the talisman off, and the emperor mistakenly thought they had won the battle. However, as Wang burst into flame, a blinding light exploded the castle, destroying absolutely everything in sight. As it vanquished the planet, magical lights penetrated Earth, causing the monsters to instantly obliterate. While skies cleared, the carriers began to vanish. With the aliens vanquished, the people started celebrating their miraculous victory. As it started to rain, water began to heal their wounds, and spiritual energy started rising across the land again. Wang appeared inside the Earth with a powerful clap of thunder. Lin thought he had come to eliminate her for trying to pass him directly over to the Demon Emperor. She told him to allow her sister to live, saying she would face the wrath of his vengeance all by herself. But Wang merely told her to call his father and tell him to bring a new seal before he destroyed the earth like the demon world. A few weeks later, another statue was made in honor of Zhuo, and the world thought he was the hero once again. At the same time, they began to rebuild the damaged world, and everyone tried returning to their normal lives. As the group rode inside a train, Guo began to wonder who truly saved the world. Chen suggested that it was a new mysterious magician. Sun Rong tried asking Wang what happened in the war. She saw his face was fast asleep, but he was simply glad to finally not hear her annoying voice echoing in his ears, bringing the anime to an end.